some scratching at my neck won't leave me alone. Will you see yourself back in the sun? The light it stings while the night it sings to me. And abnormal how a story I can't tell, but they'll see the gift they've given to me. I could step aside, I could end this life, but this disease, it won't release, it won't be cured by the night. I guess I'm never coming back. I'm holding on tight.
Welcome everyone to the St. Pete by Night Twitch stream where we play St. Petersburg by Night, a massive multiplayer 5th edition game of the World of Darkness, including Vampire the Masquerade, including Werewolf the Apocalypse, and including Hunter the Reckoning, set in St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete by Night, which is now running for almost 2 years officially, and I can't begin to state just how unbelievable that is to me that this project has grown, this experiment has grown into such a juggernaut, and I am so pleased to be a part of it. Speaking of St. Pete by Night, go follow us on all social media at St. Pete by Night. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, pretty much all places we can be found at St. Pete by Night. So go check us out, and go check out our website, stpetebynight.com, where you can meet our storytellers, where you can meet some of our staff, where you can see our beloved threat meter, which shows just what kind of trouble the Kindred and Guru and Hunters of St. Pete by Night have been getting into, and the consequences that they could face for those actions. Tonight is episode 6 of Rage Across Tampa, entitled The Other Side. Last week, our pack was divided, missing malicious Jester while trying to decide what to do after the repercussions of the Duke Energy attack became known. They knew that they had to seek out some assistance, some guidance. They debated over whether trying to bring back Ryder from the Edge or trying to help Eliza rediscover her wolf. But they knew that they needed something to help them. And after a long talk about the Umbra and the spirit realm, there was a certain myth that came to light of a very special relic known as a Tear of Gaia, an item that is believed to exist within the Umbra that could help return someone from the brink of either Hoglosk or Harano. But the pack needs to be brought back to its full form in order to do so. Speaking of the pack, let's allow my amazing players and your amazing guru to introduce themselves. Say hello, pack, and take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name's Preston. I play Aiden Goodspeed of the Gale Stalkers tribe, the Arun.
Hello, everyone. I'm Champ, Champagne, whatever, doesn't matter. Hey, you over there. I will be playing Aspen Weiss, the Silverfangs tribe, the Philodox.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nori. I will be playing Malicious Jester, the Black Fury Galliard.
Hi everyone, I'm Simon. I will be playing Joseph Ashspeaker, the Theurge from the Ghost Council.
So as I said before, our pack was divided, missing one of its more important, but also more impacted members after the events of the Duke Energy explosion. So we're going to start our story tonight with Malicious Jester. Jester, go ahead and explain where you are right now and what you've been doing for the past 2 weeks, it seems.
Jester is in a campsite at... Where did it go? Yes, the Starkey Wilderness Preserve. She is in one of the camping sites there. She has a tent, various camping equipment, as well as a cooler full of alcohol that she has been drinking as she has been in a downward depression spiral ever since the explosion.
So, as you've been spending a majority of your time pretty remote from the city of Tampa, pretty remote from the familiar stomping grounds, I'd like to start things off almost immediately with a wits and survival test, as you have been kind of roughing it. You haven't been too far from amenities, but this will help determine how often you've had to return to the city to restock, or if you've been able to kind of buy enough and ration enough to keep yourself sane, at least.
2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, it hasn't been the easiest. You've never been one to care about modern amenities. You've never been one to really enjoy the creature comforts of society, or at least that's what you thought, until you were truly without them again, truly away for the long period of time you've been away. The ground makes your back feel stiff. The dramatic temperature shifts over these past weeks, where some days it's 80 degrees and some days it drops as low as the mid 40s at night. It has started to seep in to your bones. Things feel a little creakier and you feel yourself growing more and more restless. Now, because of the events of the past 2 weeks, you are currently at Rage 3, especially after the announcement from Bateman on one of your journeys into the city when you deigned to turn on your cell phone long enough to try and record some content. The assault of text messages you received from the members of Stheno from your pack asking, "Where are you? Have you seen the news? We're in trouble. What are we going to do?" But then the messages kind of just die off after that, having gone unresponded to for God knows how long. And then another text message arrives. They've got Jackson. Then another one. Mia got picked up. And finally, Caleb. They got Caleb. Now all of these text messages come from your best friend and the leader of Stheno, Chloe. But the timestamp on the text message when you check in is from days ago. And there has been radio silence ever since. No further updates after the announcement of Caleb being taken. This prompts you to record a video that you send out to the masses accusing Ballard, Anderson, and Bateman, as well as Endron, for being responsible and trying to set up a GoFundMe page to help the legal defense of your taken Stheno members. Surprisingly, your video gains quite a bit of traction, even more so than usual, as it gets shared and reposted and even gets featured on a few environmental activist sites across the country, which helps it gain some traction and helps the GoFundMe that you've set up gain quite a bit of donations, with more seeping in all the time. Seems that if and when the time comes, you might be able to mount a pretty significant defense, but in your head and in your heart, you've been fighting against Endron for so long that you know that their pocketbook is deeper than any GoFundMe, any legal defense fund, any government grant could stand to fight. But you have never been one to give up a fight. You've returned to your campsite and it's been a few days since. as you're kind of off the beaten path, deciding what you're going to do next, the anger kind of roiling inside of you. Go ahead and make me a wits and awareness check.
Yeah, that's a brutal outcome.
Okay. So the case being this a brutal outcome, but not of a physical degree, I want you to take a point of Hoglosk as the anger the anxiety, the stress causes you to have an almost snap reaction to the sound of a car entering into the campgrounds and driving in your direction. At first, you're so distracted by the sound that you can't even really focus on the specific details of it. You are just ready to pounce almost on whatever it is until you see the kind of flickering, sputtering headlights of a familiar Jeep kind of coming up over the hill and rumbling its way, bouncing off of all of the various potholes on the trail and coming to a halt beside the campsite. The engine dies, and Artie climbs out of the driver's seat. Hey.
She will go from tense, like fighting stance to relaxing her body a bit. Hey, Artie.
Everyone's been looking for you.
I wasn't good to be around people.
You're starting to sound like Aspen.
Maybe she's got her reasons.
I know. You're used to a group dynamic. You're used to the idea of having people to rely on to a certain point, and all that kind of changed when you became what we are. But you have a new group now. And the time that you feel like you're not good to be around people, you have to remember that we're not exactly people anymore, or at least not in the traditional sense. I'm pretty sure if you got a little bitey, a little squeaky, a little clawy, Aiden could at least hold you down for long enough until we could talk some sense into you.
Yeah. Also, I think if I stayed in the city, I think I would have gone and tried to kill Ryder, and I am in no position to... I can't take him yet.
Well, I can't exactly argue with you there. Nobody is feeling particularly fond of Ryder recently.
I saw it. I saw the look he gave, and I let it go, because I was like, no, we have all the explosive. They really can't do anything. I should have asked. I should have pushed.
And what were you gonna do? Aiden got tossed around like a rag doll, and if Ryder hadn't been able to contain himself, he probably could have killed him right in front of us, and we would have done nothing to stop him. What were you gonna say? What were you gonna do that was gonna stop him?
I don't know. Something, anything. All those people.
Yeah.
And now, like, I dragged my friends in, and they shouldn't have even been involved. And now I don't know where they are. Arrested. I need to find them a lawyer.
Yeah. I kind of tried to keep eyes on them, but they were just getting picked up one after another. I mean, they have been on a full-on manhunt. They even went by your place, and it looked like they had definitely been there, to say the very least.
I don't know if it's lucky. I've been out here for a while, just trying to deal with all of this, and I didn't even know until a few days ago. I was too late.
It's a good thing you posted that video, or I probably wouldn't have even found you.
Leave it to you.
You gotta come back.
I can't hide out here forever. You're right.
Well, also, if I could have found you, who knows what they can do. We don't know what kind of resources they have. I mean, I consider myself a halfway capable hacker.
A lot. We didn't even go deep into Duke Energy, just enough to know that they were run by this company that we've been investigating, that I've been kind of bad mouthing on online for a while, and I think they used it to get us.
Yeah. Well, we gave them a perfectly good excuse, didn't we?
Yeah. Fucking writer.
Well, that's another thing I think we need to talk about. So we had a little sit down while you were away, kind of trying to figure out what we were going to do next, and Joseph started kind of educating, although it sounded more like pontificating at times, about the spirits, and he told a story, as far-fetched as it sounded, about some sort of relic, some sort of source of power, some sort of font of power known as a tier of Gaia that he believes might exist in the spirit wilds. A thing that if we got a hold of, we could potentially help bring back one of our kind from the brink. And we debated over who to give it to, and right now we're thinking Eliza, but also maybe Ryder needs it too. And I know you have a bone to pick with him, probably more than anyone else right now, but he is still Guru. He's still one of us, and we don't kill our own.
No. As much as I want to take him down a peg or two, we don't kill our own. And besides, if he's... What's it again?
I think Joseph said something like Hoglosk?
Hogloss. So if he's lost, I've heard not a whole lot, but I think I've heard the words mentioned before. Somebody being too far gone when I was with my old Karen. He's just not thinking right. Just got to tell myself that, right?
Yeah, but I think it'd be also really stupid to think that there isn't a possibility we're gonna have to fight him regardless.
Okay, I'll keep training. I was planning on kicking his ass when I'm good enough anyways.
Yeah. I've worried about you. I want to make sure you're okay. We don't have a lot here to work with, and we need every single one of us at full strength if possible, and you have a particular set of skills that I think are needed, and also, I don't know, I've taken kind of a shine to you, and he kind of gives you a wink and a smile.
I like you too, Artie. I'll start moving around and like packing up my stuff. Do you got any places I can lie low?
Yeah, of course. You're foolish of me not to.
Cool. I might need to take you up on them a couple times.
Mi casa es su casa, amigo. And he goes and pulls open the trunk. A couple of Red Bulls, empty Red Bulls drop out, and he quickly picks them up, like almost apologizing to the ground as he picks them up and throws them in the back seat of the car.
I'll hold out this like collapsible recycling bin and just be like, just put it in here.
Oh, you're a lifesaver. And almost with like an arm wool, he like scrapes along the bottom of the trunk, and the sound of aluminum cans just crunching and falling atop each other collect in the bottom of the bin. And he sets the bin in and starts helping you pack up your camping supplies, loading up the back of the Jeep. They'll be happy to see you. They've missed you too.
It's surprising and kind of feels nice.
I know.
So we're gonna have to go in the Umbra?
I have absolutely no fucking idea what we have to do, but I know what we're gonna try to do. And
Isn't that like, because the whole place, like the city, there's no Karens and stuff, it's like corrupted here?
it's not great from what I've heard. Joseph had a look when we went to the cemetery for the first time, and he just the way he reacted sent a chill up my spine.
Though, that means we're gonna fight stuff, right? I could use a few
Probably.
fight.
But we
Yeah, I
don't know
could
how to
use
fight
that.
them yet. That's the problem. We got to figure out if we even can fight them or if we're just walking into a death trap. So
Claw, bite, growl won't work.
we don't know. I think Aspen's going to see the old lady and
Okay.
try to get some answers. So hopefully, maybe she'll come back with some good news. But we'll worry about that. Let's get you back to my place and get you at least unpacked and maybe a shower?
I could use a shower.
Okay, let's go. With that, yeah.
Just to be like, she's a bit paranoid at the moment, so she will actually shift into Lupus, her little like red wolf with the big ears, and like sit in the front seat and just like let her tongue hang out, pretend she's a dog.
So he climbs into the driver's seat and pats the steering wheel, saying the mantra of soothing tones that he usually gives to get Regina to start to life. And she does, albeit a little hesitantly with a little bit of a shudder. And then as you make the drive, he kind of reaches over and scratches the top of your head and kind of gives you some gentle pats, and you didn't even realize how exhausting the last few couple of weeks have been, but before you know it, you're asleep, curled up on the front seat for the remainder of the drive. With that, we're going to transition to another gathering where Joseph has gone to seek out a friend, a mentor, and possibly a soother of the soul, considering everything that's happened since the events of the energy facility. Joseph, what have you been feeling, and where are we now?
So Joseph has been very frustrated with everything that went down, with the betrayal from Ryder, and with his failure to protect the people in the facility, specifically with his failure to have his shot ring true and accidentally killing the one person on the bed. He's been reliving his shot. He's been thinking about that most of the time since. And so he's reached out to his co-worker, with one of the people that work at the shop, and kind of almost his polar opposite in style at the shop, and just this bubbly hippie witchy chick named Aerith Windwalker. That's her chosen name. Who works at the shop as just a teller and advises people on what teas they should get and that kind of stuff. She's just such a positive force and such a kind soul that the rage he's feeling, he feels that might be a way to calm him down, or at least escape for a minute. So he and Aerith, he planned a getaway with Aerith just to go and hike through a park. We're going to go up to the Hillsborough Park, have a picnic, relax, and just get back into nature for an afternoon or two.
Okay. So on this particular portion of the hike, you find yourself sitting beside a rather sizable body of water. Aerith, being a fan of being near water because of the energy it provides, kind of walks up to the edge of the water and kicks off her shoes and kind of sits on the edge of the water, letting her feet dangle in. That she's just blissfully smiling as she kind of absorbs the energy of the area, kind of closing her eyes, a wistful smile upon her face. And as she takes a few moments, she realizes that you haven't joined her, and she kind of looks over her shoulder and says, "Joseph."
All right, give me a second. Kick his shoes off and come over and sit with her, roll his pant legs up, dip his feet in the water.
They say that water is more than just cleansing for the body. We take things like baths and showers and a good swim for granted. It should cleanse the spirit as well, don't you think?
That's what they say.
What's bothering you? The water doesn't seem to be working.
It's not always instant, Aerith. I don't have a good way to explain this, but I let somebody down recently.
How?
It's eating. I wasn't careful enough, and in my rashness, I hurt somebody.
Aerith kind of reaches up and kind of strokes one of the long braids that hangs down from her hair, kind of running her fingers over it thoughtfully, stopping and kind of spinning a little bead at the bottom of the braid a few times as she thinks, well, did you do it on purpose?
No. But I
Were
could
you-
have done better.
Were you doing what you thought was right at the time?
Yeah, but it wasn't enough. It didn't make a difference anyway. I should have done more, but better. I feel like even sitting here is not enough to make it right. I need to do more. I need to make it right. And more people are getting hurt just because I failed in the first go around. And I should be doing more about it. I should be out there. I should be doing something else.
She kind of initially gazes over at you, kind of trying to inspect your face, trying to get and cut through to what you're trying to say, but after a moment, she just kind of shakes her head so slightly and looks back out to the water. Joseph, what's one of the first lessons you're taught when you're a child? Everyone makes mistakes. We have to. We have to make mistakes so that we can learn from them. So that we can make sure not to make them again. Now, I don't know the specifics of what you're going through. But as long as you keep trying to do better, as long as you keep trying to help people, that's what really matters. Did you apologize?
I can't.
Why not?
I did enough hurt that they're no longer around to accept my apology.
She kind of chuckles and shakes her head. You and I both know, Joseph, that nothing is ever truly gone. And if your words and your intentions are pure, they will hear you, no matter where they are. That's our gift, isn't it? That's our business. It's to say the things that people feel have been left unsaid. It's to bring peace and closure to those in need. And it's to help guide beyond the troubles that seem overwhelming or undeniable.
There's no fixing this one, Aaron. There's no healing this rift. There's no undoing the hurt. There's no moving past it.
How can you be so sure?
Because I saw the damage. I saw the hurt I caused. There's no reversing this one.
Then don't try to reverse it. You're right, some things that are broken can't be fixed, so build something better in the memory of what is broken or what is lost. These things, they can be lost and forgotten as long as they are no longer spoken of, as long as they are no longer remembered or honored. You're right. Again, I don't know exactly what it is you're going through, but some things can't just be fixed or undone, but that doesn't mean there's no other option. That doesn't mean all is lost. It just means you have to do better. You have to be better. Don't let whatever was broken be in vain.
Can't fix but I can mourn and I can honor.
Yeah.
But nothing's gonna take the weight off. But the weight can be a reminder.
I once worked as an aide at a hospice clinic. And I had the fortune to talk to one of the grief counselors. And they said, the weight never goes away. It doesn't get easier. You just get used to it. You get used to carrying that weight and that burden to the point that it doesn't feel like a weight or a burden anymore. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You will never be able to be freed of this burden, whatever it is. But hopefully, you will grow strong enough to carry it, as well as any other burdens that may come your way in the future. Besides, she kind of kicks her feet, splashing, sending little droplets of water up into the air. It's such a beautiful day. This is why I love living here. As much as snow is a part of the changing of the seasons, and as much as the world needs rebirth, there's something to be said for December. We're outside in December. We get to go for a walk without big heavy coats and clunky boots. It's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, if I was back home, it would be snowing. The roads would probably be closed by now.
I couldn't imagine wearing closed-toed shoes ever again.
Yeah, frostbite sucks.
Yeah. You're not alone. And if you ever need to talk, I'm here. But try smiling. It might feel forced at first, and it might hurt, and it might grate your little cheeks. But they say if you're smiling, you can't be frowning.
Yeah, that's the definition, Aerith.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks.
Always. And with that, she kind of spends a few moments by the pool. And then she kicks the water, sending a spray of water into your face before hopping up onto her feet and just taking off running back towards the path.
He'll get up, grab his shoes, and follow suit.
And that's where we'll bring this particular scene to a close, as we transition to another lost soul, another lost spirit. As Aspen, what are you doing and where are we right now?
Well, she would be getting in her kind of beat up car, driving over to a very familiar house that is uncomfortably trashed, kind of sitting in her car, pulling at her clothes, trying to make herself look the best she possibly can, taking a couple of deep breaths, holding onto the steering wheel as she opens the door and steps out, as you hear the two like click clacks of pumps on concrete. And she walks to the door and she hesitates just for a moment and knocks.
So as you approach the trailer of Eliza Ross, You can see the beginnings of what look like a cleanup job, as if it was in progress. The lawn looks more recently mowed than it did the last time you were here. However, you can see that now it's been a couple of weeks. It's started to grow, kind of overgrown and gnarly again. There aren't as many beer cans on the lawn. There aren't as many cigarette butts piled on the stairs leading up to the porch. But you know that if this continues to go untended, it will most likely return to the state that it was in the first time you visited. But you approach the door, pulling open the screen door, standing on the cigarette-burned welcome mat that just simply says, "Go away." And you raise your fist, rapping gently on the wooden surface of the door. "Come in, Aspen." You
He will
hear
just
from behind the door.
swing the door open, kind of peek for a second, and then walk all the way in.
You see that the living room is in the state that you would expect it to be, although again, a little bit more picked up than it had been before. Some of the piles of old newspapers and mail are gone. A lot of the beer bottles and cans that had collected have been removed and disposed of. And you see, sitting on kind of the countertop ledge, an old food container, which has now grown disgusting. It has mold and bacteria coating the inside of it. It looks like it was a nice kind of Tupperware container before, but it looks like it's probably been sitting here for the better part of 2 weeks. And it hasn't moved. As you can tell, the layer of dust starting to settle on the lid of the container. But it's almost like it's been waiting there to be picked up. Eliza sits over in kind of like a recliner, lit cigarette in her hand. Her hair is not done up in curlers like it was the last time you seen it, but just kind of loose and flowing, rolling and cascading in tangles and knots down to her shoulders. She sits in a bathrobe, and she just kind of stares from her corner of the room toward you.
Aspen will walk in and just sit on the couch, barely on the edge, as to not get too dirty, and leans forward, grabs whatever newspaper is left on the coffee table and starts fidgeting with it, and looks over to Eliza. How have you been?
Well, I was beginning to think you'd all given up on me and was grateful for that. I ain't seen the other girl, and when she stopped coming around, I just kind of assumed that I was going to have the peace and quiet I've been wanting for all this time, but here you are. What do you want?
Can't get rid of us that easy, unfortunately. We're a bit persistent and stubborn. I was, well, number one, wanted to see how you were doing, but I had some questions about the Umbra, if you would be willing to educate me.
She kind of chuckles dryly, but you can see her face slightly fall at the mention of the Umbra. I told you I don't talk about those things anymore. They don't mean anything to me.
I don't particularly want to know for any reason, but I thought it would be an interesting story. It seems like it's something that you would know a lot about, and just being educated, it's kind of something I really enjoy, learning about new things.
Go ahead and make a charisma and persuasion check. She seems to be especially hesitant or has no desire to speak of it, but you have a silver tongue and a way about you of getting what you want. We'll just see how good it is today.
That is 6 with a critical.
She kind of puts the cigarette in her mouth again and chews on it a little bit. Alright. I suppose I could spin a few yarns if it'll get you out of here faster. The Umbra. It's been known in many ways. Some think that it's the fabric itself, the threads that make up reality. Others call it a shadow, a remnant, an impression of all of our thoughts and feelings and actions imprinted onto the beyond. That the Umbra didn't come first, that it came concurrently with our very existence, almost slightly delayed, as it needed time to form. Some who visit the Umbra say it is a shade, that you can still see the remnants of the real world beyond, but it is, in a way, the place where Gaia is most present. But it is also the place where she is most at pain. For those who visit the Umbra, they can hear her sobs, her cries, her screams and howls of anguish. You can see the damage brought to the forefront that has been done to her.
Have you seen it since everyone left?
No.
What was it like before?
She settles back in her seat, and you can see her eyes get that far off gaze as she's looking not at you, but through you and beyond you. Well, I suppose that depends where you were when you viewed it. When I first gazed upon it many years ago, my first trip into the Umbra, it was beautiful. In an almost ethereal and haunting way, but I was at a moot up north in Canada, in the great depths of nature, far away from any civilization, any touch of the weaver. It was the wild in all its beauty and essence. Now, because we were at a moot, it was safe. A place that was well developed and taken care of, protected. And I got to see the impressions of those who had visited before, the faint wisps of those to come. And I got to see us all for as we were. I could hear her heart beat. I could hear her laughter among the calls of animal spirits all around. Birds, deer. I could even hear the fish from a nearby lake. She was hurting, yes, she always has been hurting for quite some time before any of us walked this land, but something about that place, about that time, it was almost like a relief. She was as happy to see us as we were to be with her. It's not like that anymore. Especially not here.
Do you see when it bleeds? Do you see what happens? Like Joseph?
I used to, till I stopped caring to look.
So when it was beautiful, when it was wonderful, there were spirits, right?
There
Good
are
ones,
always spirits.
less corrupted spirits.
She just kind of slowly shakes her head, or nods her head.
Aspen keeps ripping at newspaper and kind of folding it and twisting it. Were they willing to speak to you? Did you speak to them often?
It took some time for them to get to know me, for them to be willing to speak to me, but at the gatherings it was always easier because they knew the others. In those days I didn't go into the Umbra alone. I had to be shown. I had to learn where to walk, what to say, how to be respectful. I was, I'm sure you can imagine, a bit of a capricious child, spirited and lively. But I learned right quick how to be respectful to them. Because after all, in a way, we made them. Just like we made these corrupted spirits, as you put it. They were made by our hand. Yes, they were crafted by the worm, but it was our deeds, our actions, our mistakes that brought them into being. Sometimes I think it's Gaia punishing us.
I'd like to see it the way you saw it before.
You'll never see it the way I saw it before. That world is gone.
At least
Despite all
something
our
close
best
to it.
efforts. Why? For what? For what purpose? What end? What means? You want to see just how awful it's become, how much we've failed?
Well, I know you may not particularly agree with the sentiment, but I believe we learn from failure.
Your optimism's going to be the death of you. You know that, right?
It's the way things are going now, one way or another.
She's not going to die tomorrow. It's going to be slow and gradual. Long after you're dead, probably. You could live out your life. You could go on trips and fly in airplanes and see the world. Live out a whole life, have kids, grow old. You won't have to see it happen. Because once you do, with your own eyes, that's something you're never, ever going to forget. And it is going to haunt you.
Ignoring something isn't the same as not seeing something. We could ignore death. It still comes. We can ignore the corruption in media. It still happens. We can ignore it, sure. Doesn't mean it's not happening. Doesn't mean that in small ways, in some ways, we don't see it everywhere we go.
She looks at you. Don't you think I know that?
I think
fought the fight. I spent all of my good years fighting the fight, and for what? What difference did it make? It only got worse.
I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to convince you that the way you see things is wrong or right. I'm here to understand
You're
what
here asking
this
me
life
to
is.
fight again. Even if it's indirectly. That's what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to tell you how to get there, show you the way. You're asking for your blood to be on my hands. Let's cut the fancy talk, Miss Weiss. You want to know what I know so that you can use it.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
She kind of stands up from the armchair, walks down the hallway. You hear the door to the bedroom open, and out of the corner of your eye, you see the constellations kind of projecting from the night globe on the ceiling. And the door slams shut. A few moments pass. There's no noise, no sound. But you wait. Because you're stubborn.
She just continues to rip newspaper and fold it and twist it. She's making little paper roses with stems.
Go ahead and give me a dexterity and craft for that.
Okay. One success.
They're not terrible. They're not by any means origami, but the intention is there, clearly. And with a discerning eye, one might be able to make out what you meant to make. After a minute, the door opens again. And Eliza kind of shuffles out with what looks to be almost like a leather-bound notebook. She opens it. You can't go back.
I understand.
She stares at the page in the book and then reaches up, and you hear the ripping of paper as she tears it out. The last one I gave this to never came back. And she passes over the paper.
She'll reach out, she'll grab the paper and put it away in her purse, not even looking at it. I'll be back. And maybe we can share some more stories.
Forgive me if I don't count on
Well, I'm looking forward to proving you wrong. And she grabs the roses and the stems, the really badly made roses, you know. And she grabs an empty beer bottle and she puts the little stems of the roses in there and peels off the label and puts it on her counter and takes the Tupperware of gross food and some other trash and kind of bundles it up under her arm.
it. As you make your way out, the screen door kind of closing behind you and stepping down the steps, you hear a cry of anguish and anger come from within. And one of the windows along the side of the trailer explodes out in shards of glass as you see a circular orb on a stand with several constellations carved in the exterior go smashing through the window and breaking across the ground nearby.
Aspen will stop and she will collect as many pieces of this orb that she possibly can. Then she will gingerly put the pieces in her purse and she will walk to her car.
The paper has the instructions that you need to summon the spirits, the rite of spirit summoning. But just like in all things, the call you make may not be the answer you receive. As you drive away, that image, that sound, that cry still kind of echoes, chilling your heart just a little bit. This was the cry of someone who sent, in their mind, someone off to die. We're going to transition to our final scene of the first act. Aiden, you've explored a great deal of Lettuce Lake Park since your arrival in the city. You know some of the best hunting spots. You know the best places to quickly duck away and escape when being pursued, or when you think that some human might spot you while hiking the trails of the park. You've run to the deepest edges across the river where they meet the road. It pales in comparison to home, but you know it's the closest thing you're going to get to it. And it kind of brings you peace in a way when you get to run out here. The sounds of the city aren't as loud, the smells aren't as grotesque. The air feels cleaner for the most part, but not as clean as home. There you could breathe fully. Here you can still feel it staggering your step a little bit when you run and you pant and you take in deep lungfuls of the air. What is your purpose for being out here on this particular day?
Aiden's trying to remember everything that he took in last week, as far as trying to slow down his emotions, take deep breaths, take it more of a day by day, but also to try and locate a place where along Lettuce Lake, somewhere in the park, where nature's in its fullest, somewhere where he feels like there could be a path that could let them into the Umbra. So there's a place that Joseph had brought up, that somewhere where the veil is thin, where there's less pollution, where the overall breach is easiest to come over.
Go ahead and roll me a wits and survival check.
Five.
You spend a good portion of several days out in the woods scouring every single inch of the park that you can. Staying to the deepest parts of the woods, you scour with all of your senses, sniffing, tasting the air, listening. And while it is reminiscent of home, you know that it's something inside of you, that it's not quite what you're looking for. But you keep pressing on for days at a time. Long days. Even after the sun sets and darkness consumes, you still press on. After a frustrating several days, one particular night comes where you decide maybe you need to check the places you dare not go. The places where the humans walk. You've checked the deepest wilderness, you've checked along the riverbed. But something inside you takes you to the trails, the hiking trails, the camping sites. Roll me a dexterity and stealth as you try to avoid any of the campers that have set up campsites this particular evening.
3.
3 successes will do it. Nobody's expecting to see a wolf out here. You follow the trails deep into the woods until you end up at the observation tower. A tower that was erected that's about 3 stories high along the lake. You climb up the aluminum and steel steps, padding on your claws, your nails kind of clicking ever so slightly and scraping as you go up the steps, emerging to the second floor and finally to the top landing that overlooks the lake on one side and deep into the woods on the other. As you step up onto the landing for the first time, you hear nothing. There's no ambient noise of the forest. There's no sounds of traffic distant off that you can still perceive pretty much anywhere you go. There's no smell. It's as if this entire area is devoid of sensation altogether. It's uncomfortable, to say the least. roll me a composure and resolve check, as this deprivation might send someone of a weak will moving away, even subconsciously.
5.
You steel your resolve and proceed further onto the landing. You kind of pad your way over until you reach the far railing that overlooks the lake. You kind of go up onto your hind paws, bringing your front paws onto the railing where many humans have leaned and taken selfies. And you look out over the lake. And while you see the wind blowing in the trees, while you see the water kind of rippling with the wind and with the tide, you don't hear it. It is completely gone. Then your eyes are kind of drawn down to the water's surface, down to below the observation tower. And something starts to pull, pulling you towards the edge of the railing, wanting to almost yank you over the side. Make me a strength and athletics to resist this pulling sensation.
Four.
You kind of lean back onto your back paws, your nails digging in to the surface, the wooden slats that make up the observation deck, as it pulls and pulls, and your head kind of leans over the edge until you're staring down, and you see what appears to be almost like a whirlpool starting to form at the bottom in the water beneath the observation tower. Almost like the lake itself is draining out into this whirlpool. And as you try with all of your might to hang on to the railing, the pull is just too strong. And you feel yourself fall over the edge of the railing, plummeting, ankles overhead, downward, until you feel the splash of the water hit you. But the pull doesn't stop there. You try to struggle as best as you can, kicking your paws front and back, trying to regain and break the surface using all of the skills of swimming you've developed. But you feel yourself sinking. And even the ambient light from the sky eventually goes to darkness. Make me a stamina and composure check as you try to hold on to the breath that you took as you plummeted in.
Three.
The air in your lungs begins to burn as you hold on as much as you can. You feel all of the muscles in your chest, already tense, start to ache. You feel that pressure, almost as if something is squeezing your brain as your vision starts to grow hazy and narrows. And you feel the water enter your lungs as you can't hold your mouth closed any longer. and darkness consumes. As you snap out of the vision, paws still perched on the railing overlooking the balcony, the water below is still. There's no waves. You can hear the wind rustling in the trees. You can hear the ambient sounds of prey in the forest. You have found the way. But what awaits you on the other side is something terrifying. And that's where we will bring this act to a close and take a 5-minute break. Come back and join us as the pack reforms and we see just exactly what they are going to do and if they are going to take the journey into the Umbra and to whatever it is that awaits beyond. Don't go away. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a great break. In the first half, each member of our pack was looking for something or was being looked for. But now they come together whole once again at the shop where Joseph Ashspeaker plies his trade. A curio shop in Ybor City with odd ornamentation all throughout, taxidermied animals lining the walls. It's a shop, but also strangely a museum. But as this scene unfolds, we are in the back room where Joseph does his card readings, the table already made up with tea freshly poured for everyone. Aiden, Aspen, and Joseph are present, but shortly after you hear the door open and Artie and Jester make their way in. This is the first time you've seen Jester in the flesh in 2 weeks, and she looks freshly cleaned, as if she's taken a shower and had a couple of good nights' sleep. She seems to be wearing some hand-me-downs of Artie's, as her clothes are all being washed or possibly destroyed from having been in the woods for as long as they were. But the pack is once again together, and the scene is yours as Artie takes his seat over at the table, pulling out what looks to be a Reign energy drink. Reign spelled R-E-I-G-N, with what looks to be a Spartan soldier helmet on the label. And he pops it open and sets it on the table. The scene is yours.
Aiden's gonna run over and go give Jester a big hug. Like pick her up and like spin her around. Like, you don't get to leave ever again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You check in. That's how things are done.
I'll check in.
You have the phone things.
Yes. I have
Yeah.
one of those. Not my old one, but I have one of those.
Yeah, you check in or more hugging will happen and he'll aggressively go back and sit down.
Hey guys, sorry for disappearing. I needed some time.
How are you?
Not good, honestly.
What can we do?
Well, anybody know any good lawyers? Like criminal lawyers? I could
Storyteller,
really use one.
do I know any good criminal lawyers in the city?
So, while your firm specializes in environmental law, all lawyers who kind of have to pass the bar are at least sufficiently trained in defense and prosecution techniques. It's kind of basic lawyer stuff. Now, the fine details and the intricacies of criminal law are going to require some research and some study, but there isn't really another lawyer locally that you would want representing you other than your companion and friend.
We can make it happen.
Thanks. So I heard we might be venturing into the Umbra to find something to help either, maybe both Eliza and Ryder?
Finding two would be a miracle. Finding one might be a miracle. But yeah, maybe we can see if we can find something.
I could use something to. I could use a win. I mean, yeah. We got rid of the vampires and the thing, but that was not a win to me. Not at all.
Agreed.
So what's
This-
everyone been up to?
Well, I made a trip to Eliza. Oh, speaking of which, we should probably get some like heavy plastic if we go there again so we can fix a window issue.
Okay.
But I may have some help when we make our adventure into the unknown, if you will. And she'll pull out the paper and kind of put it on and slide it over into the middle.
So, picking up the paper, Joseph, you kind of start to examine what's written on it and the contents of it, and it looks like it does appear to be a rite, including the necessary steps and instructions to summon spirits. It looks like it was penned quite some time ago. The paper and the ink are very faded, but it looks like that this passage has been read over countless times. You can even see what look to be kind of inky thumbprints faded on the edge of the paper itself. The corners of the page have started to curl from having been turned so many times. But it does appear to be, at least from what you know, everything an individual would need to summon spirits forward. Does not guarantee that they'll be friendly, but it does guarantee in some small way that they will come one way or another.
Did she give you this?
Yeah, it took a little bit, but yes, yep, got it from her.
This looks real. This is yours. You want it. You learn it.
Oh, okay. And she'll just like slide it very slowly back to herself and put it in her purse.
You have a better skill set for this kind of thing than I do. I know things. You talk to things. If you are able to talk her out of this ritual, I trust you to talk to the spirits you may summon.
I trust that you trust me then.
Plus, the spirits will be more apt to listen to someone with more honor.
Well, this is all well and good, and I'm glad we have their phone number, but we don't even know how to get there or where to get there?
Well, kinda. Joseph, I had another dream, and it wasn't great.
Okay.
So I've spent the past week trying to find the thing you talked about, the rip, the thin place to do the step over. I think I found it. There's a big building, tall one, in Lettuce Lake, where a lot of people look over the lake.
Oh, the tower, the observation tower thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to the top of that, and when I got there, the sound stopped, and that's kind of weird for me because I'm used to hearing a lot of different things. Smell was absent. I went to try and get a better look. The water below in the lake started doing this crazy turning thing, and it like pulled me off of it, and I fell into the water, and I couldn't get out. And then it started getting really dark. And then I tried to breathe, and then a lot of the water went to my mouth. And when darkness had finally like come, I was back on top of the tower. And that was the only place where that had happened.
I mean, that would be maybe a sign of spiritual activity, which would be a sign that the veil's probably thinner there. But that feels kind of hostile. I mean, we can't really be picky if we need a place with a thin veil and we don't have a cairn to make it safe.
That was the only place. I scoured the entire park.
So,
Days and nights.
so if it comes to having to fight, how do we fight? Artie said he wasn't even sure, like, if we could harm spirits, like if you have to have something special.
So if we're over there, we can fight them. I mean, we're made of, at that point, we're a spirit like they are. I mean, we're dualistic, but we have enough spirit that when we're over there, we could fight them. When they're over there and we're over here, no, maybe it gets weird. But when we're on their side, they can punch us, we can punch them, or claw, or bite, or whatever. It's actually one of the uses for claves was so we could carry weapons over.
Claves, that's that
Fancy big sword.
the one that Ryder had.
Yes, one of the ones that Ryder had one. Anything attuned, like the clothes we get dedicated, or if you have a talon or a spirit attuned device, weapon, doodad, whatever, those can come with us to the other side because of their spirit nature, and we can use them on that side.
I mean,
mean,
a laptop's going to come in handy, is it?
No, unless is it active? Do you have a spirit in it? Because then, yes, we could talk to spiders. Regina could probably go over if we wanted her to. That might be fun to go dune buggying through the Umbra.
my laptop doesn't have spirits in it. I'll kind of coax some to make it work a little bit better, but it itself, no.
Yeah, if you
all
convince
plastic and parts.
if you convince like a weaver spider to hang out in there for you and work with you, then yeah, you could bring it over. But
Okay. So we have a potential place. Do we jump in? Do we how does that work?
So right, when we're there, I can perform a ritual to open the door, to thin the veil further and give us a passage through. It's a group rite. We all will participate. You all will help. I'll walk you through everything. Don't worry about it. But we all put a little bit of ourselves into it to allow us to cross over. A few notes of concern, in case it seems like none of you have crossed over or done much. We can't stay in indefinitely. It will, being apart from this wears on us. We don't need to eat or drink, but the only thing we can use for energy is our spirit, our will. So that will wear on us, and over time that can, if we stay in too long, bad things can happen. And it can cause pain in the physical form when we return as well. We can come back with physical damage from the wear and tear on our spirit selves, so that we don't want to spend forever in there.
Sounds like a Freddy Krueger thing where if you die in there, you die in real life.
Oh yeah, no, it's real you.
Oh, good.
We're not dreaming. That's us. We just go over, but we're in a different form, so the rules are slightly different. Time's a little different too. Space is a little different. It's all broad strokes. So, but yeah, we don't want to tarry too long, and even the crossing over, if we're too angry in the process, that can hurt a little bit too. So,
How much is too angry?
no, it's not down to how angry we're feeling. It's just whether that anger goes into the right.
Okay.
And they're also going to probably respond to that anger too. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
know that when I first crossed over, it was weird, but it wasn't too difficult. At Moots, there's always kind of like a, hey, let's go check out the Umbra kind of thing. The first time was weird but easy, but then it got more and more difficult over the years after that. Like, it just didn't want us there.
Yeah, when we have active cairns, the part of the upkeep of a cairn is to make sure that the bridge to the Umbra is clean and the areas that are clean. But if you step away, if what happened here happens, it just scars over, gets thick. But yeah, I know the right. That was what my mentor taught me, and I can do it. I think I have the right herbs on the shelves back here. I can put it together and get my rite ready.
We need tea?
No, I'll be burning. Some cultures call it smudging, others call it incense. I'll be using burning herbs to help put our mental state in a way that we can cross over.
Lots of uses for these leaves.
Yeah, just don't let us get pulled over when we're traveling there.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I've been driving particularly safe ever since that news article came out.
Okay. Human law doesn't like some of the ingredients.
Oh. Right on. So...
Okay, so we have a way in, right? Apparently I will have some conversations. And then they tell us about this legend and where to find it.
Hopefully. What you'll be looking for, I think, our best bet would be a loon, one of Luna's spirits. we'll see what we can find in there and see if they can help us, as long as we get one that is savvy enough to have a conversation.
Can
Okay.
we bring them any gifts or anything? Make them more willing to help?
Depending on the spirit, I don't know what chiminage would be good for a loon off the top of my head. Let me see if I can remember. Can I roll occult and Umbra?
Sure.
Awesome. Intelligence with that for recall?
Yes, absolutely.
Are we still at 2 rage for
Yes.
all of the cool?
Yes, things have been rather intense in the city, and your own stress, paranoia, and, well, anger at what all the fallout of this has been, since it wasn't exactly you who did it, technically. Yes, your rage is still heightened.
4 successes.
So, the spirits of a loon, they like things that are reminiscent of themselves, which is night. They are fond of things like moonstones. They are fond of things nearing the end of its time. So perhaps a flower on the verge of dying. Stuff that is reminiscent of the end, or the end of one's day. Perhaps a vial of water that has entrapped the moonlight in it.
I have a
These
bunch of moon
things.
water in the shop.
These things would be appealing, but that's at the purest of Elune spirits. Each spirit has its own demands based off of its surroundings, based off of its experiences, and based off of the emotions that brought it into being. The memories, the actions, the deeds, and the feelings that forged it. Considering where you're going, considering the entrance being as remote as it is, you are more likely to encounter spirits of the wild than of the weaver. Cairns that are closer to cities, closer to development, closer to evolution and technology are more likely to be that of the weaver. But this is a place where nature rules and reigns. And while the weaver has had a presence, with man coming through and building the boardwalk, building the observation tower, it still remains within the clutches of the wild. So odds are pretty good that you might. However, also considering the time of the moon cycle, Elune may not be as present. We'll just say it's not her time of the month. But that's what you would recall, at least.
Okay, so if we can find a loon, we'll be looking for. We might be able to pocket. We can't carry a lot of stuff with us in, but we could put a few things in our pockets if we have dedicated clothes. So I'll put a few things in my pocket. Maybe moonstone. I got a couple of vials of moon water that's been blessed on a full moon. Things like that might help as small gifts. Sometimes it's favors, and then I don't know what the spirit was that pulled you down, Aiden, but we're probably looking at some kind of wild spirits. Definitely not a bunch of weaver stuff. Hopefully not a bunch of worm touch. Not a lot of banes, I would hope. Wild spirits are not benevolent; they're indifferent, like nature. So that could have just been a whirlpool spirit who was whirlpooling without any like desire to kill you. It's just doing its job. That's something to remember when we go in. The Umbra is not good or bad. Most spirits are not good or bad. They're doing a job, and their job is their job. This is wolves eat, deer run.
I feel like taking in water and making someone vision go black is pretty bad.
But yes, but it is a tornado bad? Is the tornado malicious, or is it just doing its thing and we're in the way?
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Don't try not to take it personally, I guess, would be what I say. Just don't take it personally. It's just it's all business.
Okay.
But I who knows what kind of spirit we'll run into and what they may want. We may have to do a favor. Maybe they'll give us a job to do while we're in there, and that may be the chimney we need.
All right.
Okay.
This is all well and good, but I think we're missing an important detail here. How did you get that right, Aspen? Because last I'd heard, she was not the most giving of individuals. In fact, I think Jester talked about her being possessed or some shit. So, like, what, did you win in a game of cards or something? Because there's some details missing here. I mean, this is great, and victory, hooray, but did you sell your soul or something here? Do we need to know anything? Because if we're going to walk into the Umbra and you're like, I don't know, belong to a demon now or something, that'd be probably good for us to know.
That's exactly what happened. Yes. I sold my soul to a demon, and that's what we're getting into.
Well, how
No,
do we get it back?
Well, I'll see you guys when you come out.
No, I had a conversation with her. I asked her about the Umbra and how she saw it, and she explained some things to me. And I just talked to her, and she didn't seem the happiest after giving it to me, hence the fixing the window. But she gave it to me, so there's something to that, right?
See, Artie, this is why she's going to be the one talking to the spirits, because if she can talk Eliza into this.
Yeah, I mean,
You didn't like go in and steal it from from her notebook and make her upset with us more, right?
No, I would never. We talked, and she told me some stories, which I do have to say I did forget to ask her about the tier, so we might want to go back, but also, yeah.
I don't think we want to tip our hand on that, because she would absolutely not help us. If she knows the story, she would not help us.
who's to say she's helping us now? I mean, I know you talked a lot about Banes last time we were together. Great lecture, Jester. I definitely recommend it if you get a chance. We should do a TED Talk or something sometime. But if she has a Bane and the Bane wants us gone, wouldn't it want us to go?
I mean, we could go without the spirit summoning right anyway. Like, that's just going to help us find another spirit that we want. We could just walk around and trip into one and talk to it. This just gives us a direct line.
And I don't disagree with that, Artie, but she seemed hesitant. She was pretty convinced that we weren't coming back.
It's our job, right?
That's what we're here for. Or at least, I hope it is.
Don't really plan on retiring.
Yeah. Well,
Of the two, Eliza has always not lied to us, as far as I can tell. Not tried to trick us. She doesn't really want to help and doesn't want us around. But Ryder was all willing to assist or get our assistance, but he also lied to us.
Like pretty big lie.
Okay.
And like that right looks good. It looks legit. It should work.
Well,
I
that's
don't.
not what I'm concerned about it working. I'm concerned about uh, being kicked out of a plane without a parachute. Like, we're given a bag of uncooked pasta and told it's a parachute and then kicked out the door. And then
I
we
can get us.
open it. Rigatoni! And we go to the ground.
I mean, I can get us out of the Umbra again. I'm pretty good at that, actually. But I mean, it comes down to if this is the best spot to go in, but it's the only one we got.
Does anybody else have any connections to somebody who's well versed in the Umbra that we could get some information for? The only one I know is Eliza, and we could get information, but it may not go very well.
Not really.
I'd have to travel like 10 hours of driving. 12.
You're at more risk of being pulled over than I am. Go that far.
Yeah, or get on an airplane.
Everyone I
mean-
know is hours, days away.
Okay, so what if we tried to talk to her? It could be very risky because she may not be willing to help us moving forward. But if we could get just enough, we could have something to go into the Umbra without being completely, I don't want to say completely out of our element. Joseph knows a little bit, but for the rest of us, completely out of our element. We could try. And if it's a no and it's a get out of my house, then at least we tried. Just like we did with the leeches, you know, we tried to get as much information as we could. And we could go there. If it doesn't go, I have a window to fix. Like,
I mean, we
You
could
don't
at
wanna-
least ask her if she knows about the lake. Right? If she knows it's a horrible place. Maybe she's like, no, definitely. If she doesn't want us actually dying because of her, that she would tell us if the lake was a horrible place.
right.
I think the other thing we have to consider, and I'm not going to be, or I should say, I don't mean to be the one pooping all over the punch bowl here, but we should probably wrap up any business before we go, just in case we don't come back. I mean, I'm not saying I doubt your abilities, Joseph, you know that, but like, she said the people haven't come back, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being skeptical, but the last thing we kind of dove into didn't end too great, and if it's going to be the beginning of a pattern, maybe we should get out in front of it this time.
But you also did say that we couldn't leave
Can't
people.
do nothing. I know. We can't
Right.
do. We have to do this. But I guess I don't want anybody hesitating while we're there. I don't want anybody distracted while we're there. If you're thinking about here, if you're worried about something here, that could fuck everything up. And I know we've all got things or people here that we care about, and it's bad here, guys. That's all I can say. Is all I know is it's bad here. Really bad. This isn't a fun jaunt into the Umbra at a moot. This isn't a, this isn't a vacation. This is going to be likely a battle from the minute we step foot in there. And even if it's just a mental or spiritual battle, Just putting it out there.
No, we might run into the same beings that we saw outside of Eliza's and in the cemetery.
And if
I
the
don't know how
Umbra
far they're going to reach.
Yeah, if it manifests what we're feeling, if we're feeling any kind of way while we're there, we might cause ourselves more harm than good. So I'm just saying maybe, like, tie up some loose ends here before we go. Or maybe we just go and hope for the best, and positivity will carry us through the power of friendship and whatnot.
Well, are we on a time crunch with this? Like, if we wait too long, will she get to a point where even a tear won't help?
If we aren't past that already.
Right.
I mean, her even giving the ritual to Aspen is a good sign, but I don't know enough about this to know if there's a time frame. I'll be the first to admit, yes, I have obviously things going on in my life that will distract. I don't think they'll be easily fixed in a week or even 2 weeks. So I can do the best to put it on the path of fixing it, and hopefully that will help my mental state, but
On the opposite side, maybe being in the Umbra will buy us some time and room. They won't be able to find you. They won't be able to draw you out. And I think you're right,
Right.
Aspen. We should go talk to Eliza. At least maybe she can give us something else. Maybe she has a clave and we can take that with us, and then I'll feel a lot better about this whole fucking ordeal. Or maybe we'll just be where we are. At least we tried.
Yeah, one
Hey.
last avenue to check out.
Any other thoughts? Any other avenues, ideas?
just based on Aiden's vision, I'm just concerned about the whole being sucked down and the fact it was water. What if the spirit tries to drown us?
Well, I'll make sure we're not right up on the water. I mean, the thinness of the veil is an area. We won't go out on a boat and do it. I'll try to be as far away from getting sucked into the water when we step over, so we can step over on land, ideally.
Okay. I didn't know if we had
Yeah.
to go diving or anything.
No, I don't think setting up the ritual and then jumping into the water will be necessary. Dramatic, really cool, but no.
Look, you've seen some of the shows, right? That's out now. It's always dramatic and always makes me question sometimes.
Yeah, let's go see what Eliza knows.
All right, I'll drive.
Yeah.
As they walk out, Aspen will pull Jester aside. I'm really glad you're okay.
Thanks.
And
Glad
she will
everyone's okay.
give the most awkward hug for only a second and then pull away and straighten her clothes.
Jester will hug her back, a genuine hug, but let her pull back. Thanks.
So you all climb into the Jeep, which has been surprisingly cleaned out in a lot of regards, even more than usual, probably because of Jester's presence in Artie's day-to-day life currently. You can actually see that there's a pack of bottles of water and not energy drinks in the car, but there are, of course, still energy drinks in the car, just not as many. The Jeep, Regina, awakens, and you are on your way. We find ourselves now outside of the trailer once again. The remnants of the shattered window, as well as the Constellation unit, still litter the lawn. As almost fresh as it is, it hasn't even been 48 hours since it was hurled out It is cold this particular evening. The lows have been dropping into the mid 40s as before, but it doesn't look like there's been any attempt made to cover up the broken window. The wind creeping its way through without anything obstructing it. If you guys don't mind, I'll just stick with the car on this one. Don't need any other bikers showing up, leaving presents for us when we come out or anything like that. But if you need anything, I'm right out here, Artie says.
I will have asked Artie, like, on the way to stop and pick up some takeout.
He does. Okay. You approach the porch, skipping the broken stair, stepping on the other creaky stairs. And you knock, but this time when you knock, the door just creaks open. That same smell, that familiar odor, dank and musty, hits your senses. You've multiplied, you hear call over from the recliner in the corner. Why am I not surprised? Are you here to say goodbye before you're off to your triumphant and glorious deaths?
Maybe. I brought some food. Do you like Chinese?
Oh, the prodigal daughter returns.
I needed some me time.
Thanks, Jester. Come on in.
Come in.
Could I have had Artie stop also for like a tarp or like a thick plastic
Yeah,
that we could put up?
Easily.
Okay.
No problem.
And I'll hand it
He
over to
probably
Aiden.
has one in his Jeep, honestly.
Okay. I'll hand it over to Aiden because he's taller than me and could, fix all of that.
Window?
Yeah.
And he'll go over and he'll try tacking up.
So you actually
I'll
walk
give
down
Aiden
the
a hand.
hallway into the back room, into the open bedroom, where you see the broken window and hear the wind howling. But as you head back, it doesn't look like Eliza does anything to stop you. You begin working on the window, so go ahead and give me a... Let's go with wits and survival again, since this is a patch job. This isn't a full-on replacement. You're just trying to block the wind out.
With it being a tarp, could I add my bushcraft skill as far as like trying
Yes, I will let you add your
Sweet.
bushcraft skill to this.
I will give him a hand too. Get one more.
Okay, so take one
Alright.
more dice.
That's 7.
Okay, it doesn't take long. You bust out some duct tape or some... You just kind of jerry-rig it around the window frame itself to kind of pinch it in so that it'll hold it shut without doing any damage to the smoke-stained wallpaper all around it. Looking in the room, it is the picture of someone who has been a hermit for far too long. The bed isn't made. It's got an impression in it of somebody who has spent nights or possibly even days without moving from it. You can see an overflowing ashtray on the nightstand with buds and butts spilling over the side. But go ahead and give me a wits and awareness as well as you're taking in the room. Okay. On the nightstand, beside the overflowing ashtray, is a photograph. A framed photograph of a seemingly much more vibrant and lively Eliza with her arm around what looks to be a younger man, maybe in his mid-20s. Funny enough, this photo is from the observation tower of Lettuce Lake Park.
Aiden will look at him and he'll show it to Joseph. Like, hey, It's the tower.
Oh, great.
That's good, right?
It's baggage.
The young man definitely has the distinct features of one of the guru. You can kind of tell in his loose and unkempt hair that falls freely to his shoulders and his open button-up shirt that kind of hangs down. The shirt itself covered in what looks to be star patterns and constellations. The photo looks to be easily over a decade old.
Should we ask her about this?
I don't know. That might be a sore subject.
Just a picture.
So, humans don't keep pictures like that unless they're out, unless they're important. They look close. That may have been a loved one of some kind who's not here anymore.
From looking at the photo, there's a distinct age difference. She's easily 10, 15 years older than them.
Maybe a kid or a mentee. Maybe her pup.
Oh. Well, that's sad. He'll set it down.
Out in the living room, Aspen, Jester, you're sitting with Eliza while the window is getting fixed in the other room. She does actually eat some of the Chinese food that has been presented. Not stopping long enough from the lit cigarette to eat, but, a bite between a puff or two.
Did you win anything lately?
The house always wins. But it's the game. That's what's really appealing and rewarding about it.
What's your favorite game?
I'm a fan of the slot machine myself. Just watching all those little cherries and berries pass by. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you win big, sometimes you just lose. But the sounds and the lights, they're something.
While they're talking, I'm gonna walk past and nudge Aspen and say quietly, "Can you help me in the kitchen clean up some mess?"
Yeah, of course.
So some time for yourself, huh?
Yeah.
Did you find what you were looking for?
No, but I had a friend who pulled me out.
Good friend.
Yeah. Hope we can be as good of a friend to the others who need me.
You are becoming somewhat of a celebrity.
Yeah. Not the way I wanted.
It's never the way you want it, dear. Once you
No.
become one of us, they're never gonna think kindly of you. No matter how many good things you do, they find out all they're gonna see is all the horror movies of their youth, all the scary stories. You'll always be a monster to them.
Actually, I'm not so sure if that's true anymore. Did you know that there is like a huge like following for monster I believe monster lovers. Werewolves are especially popular.
They're popular because there's a screen to protect them. They're popular because there's still enough of that voice inside saying it's not real, that you can love it safely. But we know better, don't we?
Maybe.
This optimism is getting infectious among you bunch, and I have to say I'm vaccinated, so it's not gonna infect me. But it is a sight for sore eyes to see.
That's how infection starts, you know.
Just kind of shudders slightly. Over in the kitchen, Joseph and Aspen.
Very quietly, while cleaning up some mess, he's going to whisper over to Aspen. So I don't know that we should ask about the observation tower. There's a picture in her bedroom of her and a young, presumably stargazer, at the observation tower. You said that she sent someone to their death and she took it badly. I don't want to assume the worst, but if it's her cub, if it's her pup, or someone she was teaching that's a good decade younger than her, it's going to be a real sore spot.
That's understandable, but also bringing up things like that bring back memories, and not always good, but it's recognition.
Yeah, I just tread lightly. Because, yeah, I don't. Just want you to know before it comes up.
Okay, thank you.
Aiden, by
after
this
clean-
point, you've finished up the job and you've rejoined them in the living room. Everybody who's hungry helping themselves to the Chinese food that has been prepared and put on display, as it were, made available. So what do you want this time? Did the paper not work?
We haven't tried it yet.
That makes sense. You're here, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. Listen, I know we shouldn't be asking more of you, and weirdly enough, you're the best option we have. We're gonna go either way, but we just thought we could maybe reach out to you and hear some things about this tier of Gaia.
Her expression kind of changes slightly. Where'd you hear about that?
Oh, we don't know anything concrete. Joseph actually told us the story. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, back home, I told a story of long ago of a theurge who went off to leave his cairn and leave his fate to the Umbra. He had given up and left, and in his travel into the Umbra, stumbled upon one of Gaia's tears, and became a object of legend and whispered around different cairns from there.
Sounds like a right fanciful story.
That's what we are.
Why do you need it?
So you don't have another person blowing up the power company or a hospital or whatever. If we could temper that guy and have him not destroy Tampa, that'd be nice.
Ryder.
Yeah. He's a threat to all of us.
He just doesn't know when to quit. Can't say I'm surprised. I remember when he was young and bushy-tailed like you. He was here to fight the good fight. he was going to save the world. And he put up a good one, too. The number of leeches he dispatched of, he gave the nation its best fighting chance here. Till Mary caught up with him and his pack. Killed every single one of them. Left him alive as a message. Held his face to an inferno. She didn't even blink. And you know, or at least I hope you know, the leech's aversion to fire didn't bother her none. In fact, from what I know, the chase went through the day.
I thought they couldn't, like, they weren't even
They're not
active.
supposed to. But she did. This is what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with a guru who has lost everything except their will to fight. The tears are real. It's true. But they are, as they are called, the tears of Gaia. Gaia's misery, her sadness, her pain, her anguish. A reminder of what we're fighting for. A reminder of why our fight is so important. But Gaia has cried so long. I'm not sure how many tears she has left to shed. Or if there even are any. In the earlier days, they were like gifts to us. Helped so many. But those have become fewer and further between. One can only fight for so long. One can only cry for so long. But you all seem to believe in miracles. So maybe you'll be lucky. There haven't been any guru in this area, at least not actively, for some time. Maybe good old Gaia squeezed a few more out for you. But someone that angry, someone that hurt, I don't even know how much it'll help them. I don't know how long or how much time it'll buy them before the rage consumes them again. Could be minutes, could be days, weeks. But they have seen so much, they have done so much, and they have had so much done to them, taken from them. If you get your miracle, if you bring back one of the tears and you give it to him, that's just going to be the beginning of the work you're going to have to do to keep him on the path. because he is a ticking time bomb. And until he either sees Tampa burn or he dies, he's going to have a score to settle.
So we're gonna have to cross over somewhere. I mean, eventually, even if we're not going after it here, we're going to have to go to the other side at some point. And I've looked across in different parts of Tampa. I've tried to look across at other parts of it. The wall's just too thick. The Gauntlet's too much. And we found an area that is reasonably thin. And was hoping maybe to hear if there's anything we should know about that area. If you could tell us.
Time was, your best bet was the cemetery.
Yeah, that's not anymore.
She's not going to let you through, is she?
She doesn't. No, and the Banes there are already too. The Banes there can reach through the Umbra and hit you without you being active.
Ash Speaker, you have a very soft voice, but this isn't a very large place. Just ask.
Lettuce Lake. Seems thin there.
It was a cairn once. My protege's cairn. It might still be active enough. And even if it's not, the veil is thin. The crossing is not easy. When you step in, you will sink. But there's a trick, if you're smart enough to follow it. Swim away from the light. The light, like the anglerfish, is a trick. It pulls you further down, desperately clutching to what you think is freedom. You swim away from the light. You are tempting the Umbra to kill you. And the Umbra is a lot of things, but it is not a murderer. It shows boldness, it shows daring, it shows will.
We seek to go into the shadow. We go into the shadow. Okay.
It is going to test the limits of your physical being. How long you can hold your breath. how long you can persist. And just when you feel like you're gonna die, that's when you'll be free. But you are going to panic. Do everything in your being not to do so. And you will see the other side.
I'm gonna look over to Joseph and kind of like give an inquisitive look like towards Eliza and back to him. Kind of do that twice.
So, question, would Joseph have heard of places that cross like this before? Or is this very unique?
Probably, depending on the more extreme circumstances, the location of a cairn. I mean, it is a shadow world. It is a reflection of our own. And especially in the places more wild, the impression is deeper. The place is more natural. Whereas if you were to cross over to a cairn in a city, some of the buildings might not even be in the Umbra because they're so new. It's only places that have left a strong enough impression that remain. And seeing as Lettuce Lake appears to be a body of water that has been around for quite some time, water is a strong part of it, yes. But same with the desert. If you were to cross over in a desert, you would find a desert on the other side. Maybe the opposite, cold, frigid, because night, for the most part, reigns supreme in the Umbra. It's a lot stronger than day, but it's a reflection. So yes, there are some places more treacherous than others to cross, especially if they've gone untended for long enough. It might have been easier when it was an active cairn if it was maintained. It might have just been like a dip in the pool.
Okay. I mean, no one's crossed over in a long time. Guess it can be. Reblazing a path is way more work than walking one well trodden.
It's been almost 3,700 days since someone used that cairn. Since someone crossed the Umbra there. I know because I've counted every single one of them.
Must have been somebody you cared about very deeply.
My protege. It was his last desperate attempt to find aid before they abandoned the city. He never came back. He's the one I gave the ritual to. I will make my last attempt to plead with you. Go live your lives. Forget all this business. Move on and find joy. This is nature. Things live, they die. That includes nature itself. Maybe this is just its time. But I haven't been able to convince you so far. What difference is this gonna make?
I think the cycle's just off. It needs to be reestablished.
Maybe.
We're submitting to nature, then we're going to submit to our nature and do what we do.
It is in our nature.
So be it. Believe
But-
it or not, it was a pleasure knowing all of you for the brief time that we did know each other. And perhaps, just maybe, you will darken my door again. Or maybe you'll just be another ghost to add to my collection.
We're doing this of our own will, Eliza. This is not your doing.
After the change, we lost our will, Ash Speaker. Our will became Gaia's will.
Yes. That means whatever happens to us, it's not your burden to carry.
It's not. And keep in mind that the information you've given us may actually help us survive.
I thought that before. And every loss this cairn, this city has suffered, I carry with me as the one who established it.
You blame yourself?
We are what we are. They are what they are. Like you said, it's a cycle. The wild grows, the weaver builds, and the worm destroys. The worm was just doing what the worm does. But I could have told them to go elsewhere. Maybe a different city where the wild was more prevalent. Maybe a different area where the weaver was more harmonious. I decided to face the worm head on. And the worm beat me. And it took everything from me. But the worm does what it does. We are the ones who choose to fight it.
Ma'am, I know what it's like to lose your pack. I've been through that. And it was many years that I was alone. And I didn't think that I really had a purpose. I wandered, I hunted, I survived. But it wasn't until my actual turning that I was given a purpose and I found a new pack. You have lost something, and it took others to help me find what I was looking for. We could be that thing. We could help.
Not if you don't come back. And there's a difference, boy. I sent my pack against the worm. You just lost yours, or perhaps were abandoned by them. I sent mine.
Did anyone disagree with you? Or speak up?
They did,
Or did they?
but they still went because they respect their elders.
We're gonna make it back. And like I said, we're gonna prove you wrong. Because it has to mean something. And it's going to mean something.
We'll see. We're going to transition now to the observation tower along Lettuce Lake Park. The moon, shadowed and shaded above as the new moon takes hold. You stand on the top platform of the observation tower in exactly the position that Aiden led you to before. Or that Aiden was led to before, I should say. Joseph, the time has come. Describe your ritual and make your roll.
Okay. So Joseph will pull out his backpack, pull out a large clay bowl, well, hand-sized clay bowl, and pull out a couple small bottles, glass bottles of different herbs, and we'll mix them into the bowl. We'll mix in some charcoal into the bowl, and then pull out old-style flint and steel, and we'll flick the sparks into the bowl to catch them. And as it lights and as it starts to smolder and the smoke starts to rise, he gestures to the pack to gather around. Kneel with me, sit around here. We're going to inhale the smoke. I will be chanting a little bit, but all you need to do is focus on the smoke. Breathe slow and easy. Allow yourself to feel it and put your will towards it and just follow along with my chanting. You don't have to say anything, just listen and breathe. And then he'll do some chanting rhythmically while the smoke rises, and as they inhale, he'll chant a little stronger, a little louder, which will open their eyes to the Umbra, and then probably at this point is where the Gauntlet itself takes over and manifests in whatever form it would for the crossing.
Okay. So go ahead and describe from a mechanical perspective what is required for this role to help us educate our new werewolf viewers.
So this role, this is the Rite of Shadow Passage. It is a any renown, but as I'm a Theurge, it's gonna be my wisdom plus my occult, and I'll be using my Umbra specialization for that. And then I roll with my normal rage, but every other participant adds a rage die to my roll. So I'll be rolling with my own stuff. I'll be rolling a total of 10 dice. 6 of them are rage dice because we have 5 total participants, and I'm at 2 rage. So, yeah, this is a lot. And then if we get a brutal result, that will cause us damage as we pass through. So. Okay, no brutal result. 2. I have 6 successes, which would mean I would beat a gauntlet rating of 6 to get through, which is like super thick, so we're good on that.
Well, lucky enough, the gauntlet rating here was 3. The smoke enters in through your nose, filling your lungs. It burns. It stings. It almost feels like it lacerates your insides, as if you're breathing in a sandstorm. You rise to your feet around the burning smoke, and together step to the side. But with that step, your other foot finds no purchase, and you fall. And you fall. The darkness of the area, only lit up by the natural light of the stars above, and the couple of lamps that they have secured to the observation station, disappear, blot out one by one. Darkness takes hold, and you brace, especially you, Aiden, for the impact of the water that you believe to be coming. But instead, you hit the dirty, dry bottom of the lake. There is no water here. The lake itself has completely dried up. In the surface of the bottom of the lake, you see cracks along the hardened sand and clay that makes the lake's bottom. And in these cracks, there appears to be a dried red viscous fluid. The blood of Gaia stains the fissures at the bottom of this dried lake. As you kind of get up and dust yourself off and look around, you can see the lake extends out a good distance up onto a shoreline of trees that have kind of grown brittle and broken, lost all their leaves, all their foliage, seemingly also dead, almost as if they've grown from the cracks themselves. And as you take in this haunting, terrifying, terrible view, a voice breaks the silence. Ugh, you guys! And you look over, and you see a large spider on the shore as Regina takes you all in. And that's where we're going to bring this session to a close. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. This has been episode 6, The Other Side of Rage Across Tampa. Join us next week for episode 7, where this pack takes their adventure into the Umbra, hoping to find one of these mythical tears of Gaia, most likely to bring back Eliza from the brink, from the sounds of it. But Please come back and join us here. Follow St. Pete on all social media. If you're not caught up on the episodes that we've had so far, you can find them on YouTube or you can find them here on Twitch on the past broadcasts. We have an entire playlist dedicated to Rage Across Tampa, so you can watch the episodes one after another. This Thursday is the second episode of Don't Get Caught, our Anarch coterie run by Crafty Mirage. The episode is entitled Corpses and Chihuahuas. I have no idea what that means, but I'm very, very curious to find out. So join me on Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be airing episode 2 of Don't Get Caught. Go follow these amazing, amazing players. Without them, this game just wouldn't exist, let's be honest. So go follow them. They are incredible. You will see their social media in our new credit sequence at the end, so check that out. Also, go support our sponsors. They make incredible, incredible products, from dice to dice bags to a professional game master who just recently joined our sponsors list, so you can find them on Start Playing, I believe. But thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time here on the St. Pete by Night Twitch channel. Have a good evening, everyone.